Hi, I'm Jonathan Eder, and welcome to the piano lesson. And today we're not really talking about the piano, we're talking about a keyboard instrument that's actually older than the piano, and it's the organ. This happens to be a modern version of what was known as a Hammond organ. And Mr. Hammond invented his organ in 1930. They stopped manufacturing them in 1970, and they were an electronic solution to what was the theater organ, which is essentially similar to a pipe organ. And the pipe organs produced their sound by blowing air through large pipes. When we've probably seen pipe organs in churches, the Hammond organ made it sound electromechanically using something which was called a tone wheel, and it was a very complicated process. Now we can very much come close to that sound using modern software and digital technology and modeling sounds, and this instrument does exactly that. It models the Hammond organ sound. And the Hammond organ was used a lot in modern jazz and bebop and also gospel and rock and roll. There were three kinds of Hammond organs, essentially. There was a model C and a B and an A. And the sound of the organ, in this case, is produced through the use of what we call drawbars. And there's 4 sets of 9 drawbars, and each of those drawbars is indicative of the pipes on a pipe organ. And the pipes on a pipe organ have names based on their length. So typically the low pipe would be a 16-foot, and then half of that length would be 8, 4, 2, 1 feet. Each of those represents an octave. And then they have other pipes, which are fractions of that, which are representative of the overtone series. What are overtones? Well, they are the component parts of sound. And every time we hear a sound, and every time we hear a note, what we're really hearing is a combination of many notes. And you could group them into 2 groups. One would be the fundamental frequency, or the main note, and then the overtones, or notes that resonate higher than that in certain ratios. And these are found in nature, just like if one might drop a pebble in a pond and you'd have concentric rings around that little pebble being dropped in the pond and the initial splash, so too you would have sympathetic overtones. Of course, we can't see them, right, like we could in ripples of water, but we certainly can hear them and experience them. So the organ has, again, these drawbars, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If I push in all the drawbars and I try to make a sound, it doesn't make any sound. If I start to pull out one drawbar, and they're colored, so the white drawbar is this is C, middle C on the organ or the piano. The next white drawbar is, and I'll make that a little bit louder so you can hear it. You might not be able to hear it too well. There we go. The next drawbar is an octave higher, and the next drawbar is an octave higher, and the next drawbar is an octave higher than that. So together you can have 4 C's on one note. You also have one brown drawbar, which is considered to be a sub-harmonic, but they're all essentially the same note. They're all vibrating an octave apart. And then you have the other drawbars. So compared to the fundamental note, you have an overtone, which is a 5th. So that would be a G on the piano. And then you have an octave, a 5th above that, and then a 5th above that. And then you also have the major 3rd, and together it forms a major chord. And so you have all those notes coming out essentially combined in a way, in a musical way. Typically when you use drawbars on an organ to get a basic sound, you pull out the first 4 drawbars, and then you can get your coloration by moving the upper drawbars in and out. And on some Hammond organs, they had a special effect. This particular organ is actually not made by Hammond, it's made by another company. But you had a special effect, which was called percussion, and it exploited this high overtone. And so if I press that percussion button, I now get a percussive effect. Typically, the upper drawbar, or the upper manual, these are referred to as manuals, would be used to solo with. The lower manual would be used to accompany yourself, so you'd play chords. And then you have two drawbars that are dedicated towards playing the bass. So you have your bass frequencies down here. Sometimes you could use a pedal board to play with, or you could simply just use your fingers to play bass notes. And you could play chords and bass, or melody and bass together, or go back and forth with the manuals. You also have special effects. So what are those? Some of those. There is a chorusing effect, which is a time delay effect, and you can assign that to one or both manuals. Here, this is without. This is with. Without, with. So you can hear this. You also have what's called a vibrato effect. The vibrato effect is an amplitude modulation. It changes the volume, essentially. So you can hear that, the difference between that and chorusing. Chorus gives it a little bit more of a sheen to the sound. And you also have some special effects that help to make the modern digital organ sound more organic and more like it's an older organ that's been through its paces. So you have something called key click. That's on, very high, and that's off. So that will mimic the wear that was exhibited after you have an old organ. Each of these keys in a real Hammond organ had 9 key contacts. They're actually referred to as bus bars, I believe. And they wouldn't always connect properly. They get dirt in them, so that's the dirty sound. And then you have what was called, what some people term leakage, which sounds like this, which is actually, technically, electronically, it's called crosstalk. So you had all of the 9 drawbars sort of bleeding into one another, and that adds to the sound of the basic instrument as well, to give it a more authentic sound. And you have an overdrive effect. It gives a little bit of a crunchy, distorted sound like you'd have on an electric guitar. And you'd also have a reverb effect to give you a sense of a big hall that you're in. And there's a rotary sound, so that was designed to mimic what we call a Leslie speaker, and it was a rotating speaker that exploited the Doppler effect. And so when you heard the Leslie sound, with the rotating speaker sound, it would sound pretty typically like this. That's a slow rotor, that's a fast rotor, and then slowing down and going off. So all of those add color and interest to the sound. And you have, so because you have 4 sets of 9 drawbars, you have 2 for the upper manual, and you can choose to change the tone between that very quickly, or likewise, the lower manual, you have 2 presets. And there are different percussion effects as well. So you could change the sound in various ways depending on the harmonic you're using, the attack or decay of the note. But that was pretty typical of the Hammond organ sound that had become so popular in American music and in jazz. And there are some other more generic controls here, like treble and bass and a mid-range effect. You also can change the nuances of the percussion effect with attack and decay as well. And make sure I'm not leaving anything out here. You can adjust the tuning of the instrument. By the way, the organ is tuned differently than the piano. That's a very important difference, because the piano is tempered and the organ is not. So typically an organ and a piano will sound out of tune played together. And that's a long subject of discussion, but suffice it to say, organs are tuned a little differently than pianos are, but they're pretty close. They're close enough. Certainly, if you play them individually, you probably wouldn't notice the difference very much. And that's the basic tour of the organ. So I'm going to play some organ songs, and with my friend Jay Harris, who is a great drummer locally in town, and we played together for a long time, and a good friend of mine. So if you have any questions, you can email me, and otherwise, I look forward to being with you next time, and take care.